Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of Off the Cuff. My name is Eman. I'm your host today, and today I have with me Abdullah and Adnan. So, today's episode is another Ask Me Anything episode. That means we put a Google form out on our Twitter, our Facebook, our Instagram, and we said, submit your questions, and they have to do something with Pakistan's domestic system, Pakistan's domestic cricket. Obviously, quite a lot has happened in the last year. Every single time the chairman changes, the system also changes. So, we went from regional to more departments. Honestly, I'm not an expert on domestic cricket. I'm very confused to this day about what system we're following because I know departmental cricket chal raha hai, but I also know that the national women's T20 and the national T20 had like city names, so they're fed by regions. But that's why I have Abdullah and Adnan here. I don't know a lot about this, so they're gonna take over most of the questions. Jo women's cricket questions honge, I will answer them. Abdullah and Adnan also follow women's cricket quite closely, so they will also do the same. But yeah, we're just going to talk about the system and what's going on and what our opinions on it. So, first of all, thank you guys. Are you guys ready to start?
Yep, let's go.
Yeah, good, good. Brilliant. Thank you. Okay. So, the first question that we got is, what are the benefits of departmental cricket other than providing permanent source of income to the cricketers? A similar question we got that I'm going to club together is, can departmental cricket prosper? All right. Who wants to take this one?
I think इसमें डिपार्टमेंटल क्रिकेट का मेन जो पर्पस है to an extent it was because like the people in the old system came back और उनका उनका हमेशा से यही व्यू पॉइंट रहा है कि we need departmental cricket regional cricket departmental cricket होना है and they were not uh, they did not like the old system the old new system. It's difficult to keep track of them, लेकिन वो जो six cricket association वाला system था उन्हें अच्छा नहीं लगा, and then they went back to what they know कि regional tournament भी हो departmental भी हो. uh, I think if they had their way तो फिर combined भी होते. And it's just good that वो जो टेक्निकल कमेटी सेटअप हुई थी आई थिंक मिसबा वगैरह की, तो उन्होंने डिसाइड किया था कि सेपरेट कर दें, तो एटलीस्ट सम ऑफ द बेनिफिट्स दैट कैन बी गेन बाय हैविंग देम सेपरेटली वो हो गए थे कि जो अच्छे प्लेयर्स हैं उनको ज़्यादा मैचेस वगैरह मिल सकते हैं. एंड it doesn't become a competition between the departments and regions के सबके पास like the players are basically distributed among the teams when the Qaid Azam trophy is happening, तो फिर उसके लिए players हैं, फिर president's trophy के
Hmm.
लिए हैं. So the main benefit is that yes, it did give players more of an opportunity. लेकिन at the same time मेरे ख्याल में कि ये जो single round robin वाला system हुआ है with just 6 matches in the like president's trophy में 7 teams हैं तो 6 matches per team, and Qaid Azam trophy में 8 तो 7 matches, तो uh, it felt a little bit rushed. And especially the way the tournaments were held, I was not a very big fan. The scheduling and everything, so still lots of room for improvement. अब क्या पता है इस साल क्या होने वाला है, कौन सा सिस्टम रहेगा. but really the most important thing is कि आप थोड़ा continuity लाएं, consistency लाएं, and try to build upon what you have rather than always tearing down everything. I don't think that's a wise approach in any sense.
That's same for me. So basically, the way they separate regions from the departmental crickets, it's a benefit for the players who play the domestic cricket for a longer period of time. So basically, so it's the regions are basically like the feeder tournament, and then you go to the departmentals, and there you have the quality
Hmm.
and the quantity at the same time. So you got the two things from the system. So basically, the first you got the amount of games, and then you got the quality as well. But this is not happening at the moment. That's a different debate. So basically, what they have designed is a much better than the last system. I would say in a way it gives you more matches, but scheduling is so poor. The way they set up the departments, their team, the division of the players are so pathetic in some way that it just fade out all the advantages uh, that we have gained through the first two three things Bispa did right, bringing Kokobura and all these sort of things. So basically, the in a way department, I think this is a better system in a way than the last system, because what happening in the last system, same players playing again and again, so you don't
Mm,
have players coming out from the second 11. So even in second 11, if they are performing, they are not coming to the first 11, because in the most of the Lahores, you have Lahore. I am taking the example of Central Punjab. Central Punjab last year have five openers: Abid Ali, they have Imran Dogger, they have Azhar Ali, and they have Mohammad Saad playing at three. So basically, they have four, five, and there are Ali Zaria Basif. So basically, there is no room for Rizwan Hussain to play at Central Punjab first 11, although he has scored at average of 57 in the previous year, 2021. But he has got no place in Central Punjab first 11 in the Kazim Trophy 2022 and 23. Maybe because of that, I think this is the better system. It gives
mm.
you more leverage to play all those players, then make a quality side and move towards the present trophy. But that's not happening in that way in through the system. That's a different debate.
I'm gonna be completely real with you guys. मुझे पता भी नहीं था कि it's feeding into the President's Trophy. Like, I didn't understand that. Because, like you said, we're not seeing that happen at this point. And again, I feel like fans took this change a little bit seriously in the sense that they were like, how can we root for, these Qaid Azam Trophy teams? And I really had a lot of fun watching Central Punjab play in the season that you're talking about. That was the team that I was supporting that year. But no, but you're absolutely right. Having a feeder, and this is something women's cricket में हम लोग बात भी कर रहे थे कि what the ideal system you would want for that, and it would involve, the teams. Even if you expand, so they were like 6 teams is great, and so on and so forth, and that's fine. But what I really liked about the men's national T20, I don't know if you guys will feel the same, but what I liked about it was everyone got a chance to play, and then there was like a top level thing, and so that's something that happens in Indian women's cricket as well. So you feed basically into a higher level tournament where the top players compete against each other. Obviously, India also has, I mean, maybe 100 times the number of players that we have for women's cricket, especially. So it works quite seamlessly over there. Still complaints hote hain, magar I'm fascinated by the concept of a feeder tournament. I did not realize we had that, which again shows why I'm not the expert for this episode. But tell me something. If so, another question that we have is regional cricket or the previous 6 team tournament that we had. So if you guys were to choose one, I know Adnan, you kind of established that you like this idea better. But what about you, Abdullah, and Adnan, if you have anything else to add, please do.
Uh, I think I'm not really a fan of either of them. I think दोनों में खूबियाँ हैं and ideally you need to combine them के जैसे the national T20 like you mentioned ज़्यादा teams के साथ I think that's a good thing and I think कि वो थोड़ा fine tune कर सकते हैं like maybe कितनी teams थी I think there were like 18 teams this time or something that might be a little bit too many but if you have like something like maybe 15 teams or something or आप तीन groups में divide कर दें and then you have a super six it
Hmm.
becomes more structured I feel कि अभी especially जब दो the groups are of in equal sizes तो I think दो groups में चार teams थी और दो groups में पांच teams थी like it does not make any logical sense first of all uh, some teams in the first round got more matches, more opportunities, कुछ को सिर्फ तीन matches मिले तो uh, it's probably I would definitely say it's better than the old system क्योंकि जो आपके 6 team national T20 होता है तो फिर opportunities नए लड़कों के लिए बहुत कम होती हैं तो opportunities especially white ball cricket में T20 cricket में I think you need to widen the net a little bit and try to involve more players और ये भी है कि for especially for T20 cricket you do to an extent need more quantity uh, फर्स्ट क्लास क्रिकेट में मैं आपको क्वालिटी पे ज़्यादा फोकस करना है लेकिन T20 में आपको क्वांटिटी पे ज़्यादा फोकस करना है इन द सेंस के जनरली प्लेयर्स को एक्सपोजर देना है एंड द बेस्ट वंस विल दे हैव अदर एवेन्यूज टू राइज फ्रॉम दैट फर्स्ट क्लास क्रिकेट थोड़ी एक्सक्लूसिव है बिकॉज यू जस्ट हैव फर्स्ट क्लास क्रिकेट एंड देन टेस्ट क्रिकेट तो आपकी दूसरी like you're not going to be playing first class tournaments all year long,
Mhm.
लेकिन रमदान क्रिकेट होती है, there's other forms of T20 cricket, तो आपको थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा exposure देना है. So I'm fine with the concept of having more teams, but I still the way this tournaments are structured, I think it's still a problem. And for me, the biggest problem would be the scheduling rather than the structure or how many teams there are anything. क्योंकि जब आपके पास अ, एक ही सिटी में या एक ही इलाके में सारे मैचेस हो रहे हैं और दो दो दिन का गैप होता है टूर्नामेंट राउंड के बीच में, especially for the fast bowlers, it's a big problem. And when you have कि जैसे I think some matches जब टूर्नामेंट I don't remember कायदे आजम ट्रॉफी was it कि नॉर्थ में जो हुई थी, तो उसमें you had players traveling from one city to another in that 2 day break, तो बहुत मुश्किल हो जाता है, वर्कलोड के लिए बहुत मसले मसाइल होते हैं, and it just makes it very difficult for the players. Like essentially what you're doing is कि आप बस you just want to get it done over with. You're not really trying to uplift the players or anything. जो आ रहे हैं वो जो improve कर रहे हैं, that's to their own credit rather than the system.
Mhm.
आई एग्री विद अब्दुल्ला भाई पॉइंट के स्ट्रक्चर बहुत बुरा था इन अ वे कि मुझे याद है कि एक मैच बहालपुर अपना रहीम यार खां में खेल रही थी, दूसरा उसमें जाके हैदराबाद में खेलना था. तो इन 2 डे ब्रेक में इतना उन्होंने ट्रैवल भी करना है और मैच भी खेलना है. और अगर आप अपने फास्ट बॉलर की बात करें तो बहुत कम फास्ट बॉलर जिन्होंने दोनों टूर्नामेंट खेले हैं. एक काशिफ अली और मोहम्मद अली ने खेले हैं दोनों टूर्नामेंट जिसने पूरे पूरे मैचेस खेले हैं. इन दी एंड काशिफ अली की परफॉर्मेंस एक किस्म से लेट डाउन भी कम भी हो गई, थोड़ी भी हो गई थी, और एवरेज विकेट्स मिलना भी कम हो गई थी. नवे कि आप 15-16 मैचेस खेल चुके हैं एफसी के, आप पाकिस्तान कप पूरा खेल चुके हैं, आप T20 का टूर्नामेंट
Mhm.
पूरा खेल चुके हैं, उसके बाद एसपीएल भी खेल रहे हैं. तो इन दी एंड वो परफॉर्मेंस नवे फिटीक तो हो ही जाती है पेसर्स को. तो 15 एफसी मैचेस खेलना, फिर 2 दिन का ब्रेक है, उसमें आपने 10-5 दिन के ब्रेक के बाद पूरा नेशनल T20 कप भी खेलना है, और 3-4 दिन के ब्रेक के बाद आपने पाकिस्तान कप भी खेलना है. तो स्केजुअलिंग तो बहुत बुरी थी. ग्राउंड पे देखा जाए तो नवे कदाफी की जो सिचुएशन थी इस साल, दे आर लाइक आप रन बांट रहे थे कि आप ये तुम भी ले जाओ सेंचुरी, तुम भी ले जाओ. तो बेसिकली आप उनके नंबर्स निकाल के देख लें प्लेयर्स के, तो देयर आर 360 डिग्री डिफरेंट फ्रॉम द नंबर्स दे आर स्कोर्ड ऑन Qaddafi Stadium and outside the Qaddafi Stadium. So basically it is structured in a very poor manner.
Hmm.
The idea was right.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. In fact, I really like, yeah, Abdul Bhai, the thing you said about how they want to do things because they just have to tick it off their list. And that's the problem with both men's and women's cricket. Women's cricket, तो there's no one checking the checklist, ठीक है? So there's no reason to tick it off. जब वर्ल्ड कप आ रहा होता है तो वो उसी फॉर्मेट का टूर्नामेंट कर लेते हैं. इस साल T20 वर्ल्ड कप आ रहा है तो T20 टूर्नामेंट कर लिया है. अगले साल हमें लिस्ट ही मिल जाएगा क्योंकि वो ओडीआई वर्ल्ड कप आ रहा है. But because they don't actually care about domestic cricket and its development, तो फिर वो scheduling and all of the nitty gritty, because it's very simple. अगर आप 18 टीम टूर्नामेंट बना रहे हैं and then you're splitting it into 4, उसी वक्त आपको समझ आ जाता है कि it's not spreading properly. अगर आप you're scheduling the national T20, the Pakistan Cup and Qaid Azam Trophy and so on, आपको समझ आ रहा है कि there's not enough time in the scheduling. The people that are doing it, they obviously know. We can't question their intelligence. It's just a matter of someone from up top saying, hey, you should be doing this the right way instead of just trying to get over with it. But no, I completely agree. But you mentioned, Adnan, you mentioned pitches. So let's pick up a pitch specific question. So one of the questions we got was, what is the ideal kind of pitch in domestic cricket?
I think it's a very it's something that we've had a lot of problems with, or I think जो systems overlap किए हैं, जो old system था, फिर new old system, and now the new system, उसमें they've all had some varying differences. I think the most important thing that happened with the cricket associations was, ठीक है टीम्स कम हो गई थी, लेकिन सबसे ज़रूरी चीज़ ये थी कि ज़्यादातर थोड़ी फ्लैट पिचेस हो गई थी. पहले जो होता था, द ग्रीन ट्रैक्स वर नॉट beneficial at all. That made it really difficult for good players to come through. So I'm glad we got rid of that. बट एट द सेम टाइम जो हम जैसे अदनान ने अभी मेंशन किया था, जैसे जो गद्दाफी स्टेडियम पे हुआ है इस सीजन, I think there were seven, maybe six, seven double hundred scored, and all besides one, all of them were at Gaddafi Stadium. So having 600 versus 700 is not the idea of a flatter pitch. A flatter pitch means कि आप थोड़ा लीवे दें बैट्समैन को कि रन्स भी बना सकते हैं, एंड बॉलर्स को भी थोड़ा काम करना चाहिए टू पिक अप द विकेट्स. इट शुड नॉट बी कि आप बस यू जस्ट throw the ball at a length and the pitch does everything for you, uh, and you get wickets like that. तो आई थिंक पिछला सिस्टम जो था, प्रोविंशियल सिस्टम जो था, उसमें पिचेस काफ़ी अच्छी थी. कराची में जनरली the pitches were sporting, and that's fine कि क्योंकि winter में होता है tournament, तो it's fine कि थोड़ा सा sporting हो. And in Punjab they were on the flatter side in the old tournament. Again, that was mostly okay. I feel again it was जैसे Gaddafi Stadium हुआ है इस दफ़ा. I think that
Mm.
once you start going towards that level of them being flat, it becomes a problem, because then it's just like a spinner. I think there was the spinners at times were bowling 50 plus overs, and fast bowlers just stop bothering. So you don't want to totally make it difficult, but yes, I do feel that having flatter pitches makes it better. Because the two things that you really need the bowlers, the your players to develop are कि बैट्समैन को लंबी इनिंग्स खेलने के लिए इंसेंटिवाइज करना है, एंड फॉर बॉलर्स especially for spinners, the you have want to have them bowling a lot. Fast bowlers के लिए इतना ideal नहीं है, but when you have spinners sharing a lot of the workload, तो फिर fast bowlers के लिए ये हो जाता है that you're trying to figure out ways of picking up wickets, be it reverse swing or basically just incentivizing a bit of extra work and ensuring कि ठीक है, पूरा जो 4 day tournament होता है, all 4 days are used rather than the old system where the old system where with the grassy pitches you would have matches over in 2 days. That benefits absolutely no one at all.
For me, the best pitch was kind of there is a match between SP or SP versus KPK or CP versus KPK at Multan Stadium. I think in 2021. So basically, they had 400 5 runs in the first inning, and the almost similar type of runs scored by Southern Punjab in the second inning as well. But as the pitch started deteriorating and all those things come into mind, and at the end of fourth day, it becomes a very close contested match. Although I think that became the first win in that tournament after 10 or 12 matches. Basically, all of them were drawn. First 11 matches were drawn at all the stadiums in the last provincial system, and that was the first match at Multan that got the result. So that okay with that kind of result, which way with the pitch deteriorating with the time. So that's one type of it. The other we got last year at Pindi stadiums, and so basically there is not much movement. Uh, there is like same thing for both the batters and the bowlers. So you stick to the pitch. You can score runs if you are uh, bowling at the right areas, you can take wickets. For the example of Umar Khan was played all 7 or 8 matches in that Pindi Stadium in that year, and he was taking wickets. Abrar with the mystery that he was just running having on that pitch. But apart from that, if you are a good player of spin, you can play Abrar, or you can know how to play the seam. So players are scoring runs on that pitch as well. So basically, I think that's much better. With Gaddafi is always, I would say, flat, and they used to have matches at National CCA Cricket Association ground Lahore में. So वो भी बिल्कुल flat होता था. तो I don't think flat pitches work in a way that it allows players like Amir Jamal, Kashif Ali to develop the hard length
Mm.
bowling and develop some kind of reverse swing that Musa Khan, with the time, learned on Gaddafi Stadium that how to bowl the swing. I just remembered one or two reverse swing spells in the domestic cricket, and both of them from Musa Khan, one at Faisalabad and the other at Gaddafi Stadium. So basically, players learn with these kind of conditions. Apart from where you having Saddam Hussein taking 60 wickets at average of 9, or you don't want that. Alias Chima having 61 wickets in one season at the average of 7.5 with a strike rate of 15, just not wanted to batsmen should compete with the bowler. So basically having a bit of flat pitch, but not that that didn't even deteriorate at the fifth day. That spinners are
Mm-hmm.
getting nothing around that. Like this year, Kadafi stadiums, like Karachi will deteriorate. Even Multan, I would say Multan were the same surface in a way. It deteriorated at third and fourth day, and you got a result on that pitch. Faisalabad
Yeah.
and Karachi becomes a bit flatter, but it gets better with time, and you can have results on that bit, grounds. So I would say that is a bit of flatter bit that have first 2 days you can batters will enjoy the things, and then bowlers come, then it make the life difficult for the batters to play their shots and all kinds of things that spin come into play and the rough area come into play, and that's basically the fast bowling skill that you go on a bowl long spill, reverse swing spells. So that's why
Hmm.
I would prefer a scratchy kind of surface for that.
Yeah, when you were talking, I was thinking of Musa Khan and also Ryan ki jo tweet thi after Amar Jamal did well, I think in the first test only, about how he basically learned to bowl and what the system did to favor him. And I think that's really important. I can't really obviously relate that to women's cricket at all because we don't know what red ball cricket is in that arena. But I will say this: we didn't watch the white ball tournaments, the domestic tournaments, because it wasn't possible to watch them before this year. It was possible a few years ago. Long story. Anyways, the point I'm trying to make is our spinners always did really really well, and it was always like, can we just not play spin, or are they just really ridiculously good? And so this time when we got to watch, we watched players like Ghulam Fatma bowl on flat pitches, and we realized, okay, a few things. Our players are not that great against leg spin. Ghulam Fatma is really good, and also it's a flat pitch. Like, you can, the batters learn, the best of the batters scored runs, a lot of them. The best of the bowlers learn to take wickets there. Obviously, if players can't play leg spin, so players like Ghulam Fatma are then benefited by that. But it's also just a reward for bowling well. We saw players like Momina Riasit, or up and coming spinners like I think uh, forgotten her name, Nurul Iman, and there was one from Pindi as well who was fourth on the list. They bowled really well. They have really unique actions. People weren't able to pick them. So then, even in white ball cricket, when you give them, and flat pitches are really important. Thank God the PCBs realized that white ball mein to it shouldn't even be a question about what kind of pitch you need to give, to be honest. But yeah, so I think that it comes back to another thing is, you're not doing tournaments for the sake of doing tournaments. You're doing tournaments the right way. You're recognizing, okay, in this format you need these kind of conditions, you need these kind of pitches, because this is the kind of contest you want to give your batters and bowlers. And yeah, so I think that's really important. If you guys want, we can take another pitch question. It's about, what can we do to make sure our young batters play bounce, seam, swing very well in Cena. But maybe this also relates to kind of the delivery, delivery, the ball we use. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not an expert, so I'll hand it over to you guys.
आई थिंक इसमें एक चीज नोट करने की ये है कि no matter what happens, players from different backgrounds will have different strengths. Australia jitni bhi try kar le, they're not going to produce they're not going to produce like a whole line of players who are immediately able to adjust to Asian tracks. That's just the nature of cricket. Ke players from a subcontinental background or Pakistan se jo aate hain, especially they'll be more accustomed to a certain type of pitch, and players from Australia and South Africa will be accustomed to something totally different. तो इसमें कोई बुराई नहीं है. Tying into the previous question, rather than an ideal type of pitch, I think it's important that the grounds across the country should all have their own characteristics. It's really important कि जैसे पिंडी में हमेशा पिच ठीक होती है, थोड़ा बेहतर कैरी होता है, so you preserve that rather than tearing it down when you feel that you want something different. Sometimes you make it really flat and then it just becomes a road. फिर I think there was one time when they tried to create a spin friendly track and that could not happen. So just go with the natural, the natural feel of the pitch. And I think it would be great if we could have some more of the centers involved. Because I think there was that clip of Misbah from a couple of years ago, or last year or something, where he was talking about like when a few years ago, or maybe longer than that, but there was a period when they used to play at other centers, तो उधर पिचेस को की वैरायटी ज़्यादा होती है, कुछ पिचेस मिलती हैं जहाँ पेस एंड बाउंस ज़्यादा होता है, तो giving players exposure to those type of pitches is probably what can help you a little bit. And I'm not like ठीक है, we want to win in Australia, लेकिन that's you can't like base your whole cricket on that, like Ramiz wanted to do, के आप किसी तरह से आप कुछ कर लें जिससे आपको ऑस्ट्रेलिया में जीत हासिल हो जाएगी. That will come with more things than just making your batsman competent against pace and bounce. I don't like ठीक है, again, just going back to the main point that you cannot have every base covered, and just give them a variety of conditions to face, and that's really the best that you can do. And don't try to adjust the nature of pitches into something that they aren't. That is, I think, really paramount.
So I don't think I need to answer that. Abdullah, I answered that very exclusively. That I think Mr. White was right. It was from, I think, that AI show on the World Cup where someone asked about the domestic pitches, where because a lot of runs being scored at that moment on the domestic. So he talks about the whole the Sheikhupura ground and the Ballpur ground, because in Ballpur you got a lot of spin in that, and Multan is a different from how Pindi should be act as a pace and bouncy pitches, and there should be a tournament in on the whole country instead of playing at one or two or three stadiums like in this time happened in the Karachi, where you have only three stadiums and you are playing your whole tournament there. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, you cannot do that on every pitches. Uh, I think they can do that bit on Multan. It got more carry, more bounce than the other pitches. I think they have done that in this time in 2022. I think National T20 come 2022. They have done that this kind of thing to make up bouncy pitches on Multans. And Sanullah was unplayable at that time for the players, because on Multan ground they are not used to have that kind of spongy bounce on those surfaces. So maybe they can do nothing with that. You can make them play bounce without telling them how to play the bounce, and in all those technical things you can do with these players. Most of your players are technically faulty and you don't have NCA who can work on that. So who is in the NCA? No one is in the NCA. You have your 2 3 Angro projects with the players on power hitting and these kind of things, but that's also with the under 19 or the hundreds player selected by the Arviz Raja. So your next slot that is coming to the internationals at 20, 22, 23, 24 years old, like Qasim Akram or Mubassir Khan. Or Mubassir are always got a difficulty in playing the short ball very well. So he even his power hitting doesn't have a very good power rating, but, because of some technical faults that even some of the commentators have presented in National T20 Cup, that he can't hit the ball in a way as those power hitters. But who will work on that? There is no one in NCA. Even if there is someone is coming there, he is working with under 19. He is not working with this Qasim Akram or Basir Khan, the next lot that going to represent Pakistan. So you are not going to win anything in internationals if you are not working on your next lot as well.
Interesting. So we basically wait कि अंडर 19 वाले बच्चे जब बड़े हों तो फिर हम कुछ जीतेंगे ऑस्ट्रेलिया में.
They
Okay.
might get injured before going to
Oh,
play.
great.
Yeah.
Okay, so not then as well. Acha, but okay, yeah, I was gonna say something about how like it's less about teaching your young batters to play something in particular, and it's more about making sure that the conditions are diverse, like you said, and also just selecting the ones that can. So I mean, that's why, like, Abdullah Shafiq, even though he didn't have the greatest tour ever to Australia, he was selected because he was someone that they knew. And then someone who was also selected, that I won't name, but just necessarily didn't have the skill set to play in Australia, but still went with the team. So it's those kind of decisions that really show, like, are they thinking about the conditions there, about who can play what, instead of making sure everyone can play absolutely everything. It's about just selecting the right people in the right places. But yeah, okay, cool. I have a question. Okay, so we got a lot of questions about that were specifically about players. I'm just going to take a few of them. So the first one is about three domestic test pacers that can feature in the test team. Only the ones who haven't debuted, and a mini comparison of their strengths and weaknesses. So ये थोड़ा सा extensive हो जाएगा. So like let's try to name at least three, like to name them at least, and then we can maybe just briefly give an overview of what they're like, what their major role is, and so on. Do you guys have them on hand, or have I asked you something that you would have to look into your databases for?
So I have two names in my mind and not getting the third one who probably gonna play for Pakistan next. So most probably Kashif Ali, and then there is Dhani, who didn't have until now, and Arshad Iqbal. All three of them are similar kind of players. Dhani and Arshad are similar in terms of hitting the HTD bowlers and hitting the deck hard. With uh, Kashif have a different quality. He uses the crease more than the two others and hit the seam more often than Arshad and the Dhani. So basically, my three names are Kashif Ali, Shanawaz Dhani, and Arshad Iqbal.
Abdullah, is your answer the same?
I think these are the ones that should be next in line, and they're the most ready ones. कुछ दूसरे names मैं बस ऐसे ही बोलूँगा जो इस season हमने देखे हैं, जो नए players आए from the new crop that have come. I think अदनान ने भी mention किए थे Twitter पे. Both are tall fast bowlers, Awais Anwar and Afaq Afridi, and it's good to see uh, tall fast bowlers coming through, because for quite a while there's been a lack of this type, where Ashad really stood out because he was that type of pacer. So having more tall hit the deck pacers in domestic cricket is really important. Now I don't know if they're going to uh, make this step up or how they go in the next few years, लेकिन I think ये काफी जरूरी है domestic cricket में कि इस तरह के pacers आए हैं, and I hope that they continue to do well.
Cool. Yeah. Honestly, I'm a little bit shocked that all three of the names that Adnan mentioned, they haven't made their debut. But then I was thinking back, yeah, they haven't, which I think maybe shows that I've started following domestic cricket recent times. That's why their names are at the top of my head too. Great. So I have another question that's player specific. It is about spinners. So one question says, is there a spinners pandemic in Pakistan? Why aren't we producing good spinners? And another question says, is there any good genuine off spinner in the men's domestic circuit who can be a prospect for the national team? So I guess we can just answer both of them together because they're kind of similar in that sense.
I think the problem of the lack of spinners, it goes back to the old system. Basically, उसकी वजह से एक generation gap है, एक generation missing है in terms of spinners, क्योंकि green pitches थी and pacers would make they would just win the games for their team. Spinners mainly part-time options team रखती थी क्योंकि you don't really need them. So because of that, there's whenever you look at spinners playing, you'll notice कि या तो काफी high 30s में हैं in terms of age, they're nearing retirement probably, or they're in at a very advanced stage, or you'll see कि बहुत young हैं. You will rarely find people in that spinners in that late 20s area, which is ideal, like more ideal of a place to um, invest in them. You have Zafar Gohar, who I don't know if he's going to ever play in Pakistan or if he'll be in the system even. That's a long story, but I think he's the only one basically in that age range. So yes, the old system I think has a lot of the blame for that, क्योंकि spinners को basically time चाहिए होता है. It's not like fast bowlers आप देखते हैं कि एक young talent आ रहा है तो स्पेशली अगर जनरेशनल कोई प्लेयर है तो आप उसे फौरन डाल सकते हैं इन वट एवर फॉर्मेट यू वांट. लेकिन टेस्ट क्रिकेट में स्पिनर्स का ये होता है कि यू वांट देम टू गेन अ सर्टेन अमाउंट ऑफ एक्सपीरियंस. उन्हें पता चलना चाहिए हाउ टू बोल इन डिफरेंट सिचुएशंस. बहुत ज़्यादा बॉलिंग ही करेंगे तो ही अच्छे बनेंगे, एंड दैट डिड नॉट हैपन इन द प्रीवियस सिस्टम. तो अब हो रहा है, but because of the missing generation, you're either stuck with a lot of older players who might be over the hill soon or might already be over the hill, or you have a lot of younger players who are not, probably not ready yet. So that's the main thing I can specify. There are other concerns as well in terms of skill and the variety and all. So maybe Adnan would like to expand on some other points.
So probably from 2013, 14 to 2017 until the domestic system got changed. So every team has one left arm spinners bowling with four medium pacers. So basically, sometimes they even just also left arm spinner don't even bowl the whole day because Abbas, Sadaf Hussain, Azaz Chima can bowl 10 over spells, 7 over 8 over 9 over spells, and with that grace ball, they're just bowling like the machines and the pitch and the ball doing all those things. So basically, so as Abdullah Bhai mentioned, there is a age gap that the pace, the spinners do got Kashif Ali or Numan Ali or Zahid, these type of spinners like Fan Khan Jailer. So basically, all those spinners are in their late 30s, and then there is a players spinners are coming who are just 21 or 22, 22 and 23. There is only one that is Zafar Gore, and who is 27, 28, or 29, and who is not going to play for Pakistan at the moment. So basically, what was happening at the moment, I don't think there is because of that system there is no spinners, and at the moment there is no variety in that because team don't need a variety type of spinners. There is only Yasser Shah in that time. Um that was bowling the leg spin at that time, and there is no other because Zahid was from Sadu, and he often plays the second 11. He don't come to play for the first 11 more often. So at the moment there is a much better versatility in a way than 2013 to 17 times because at the moment you think you might need two three leg spinners. In that you have three leg spinners at the moment in the system. That Arif Yaqub is there, and then there is I did this year that left arm spinners bowling as well, and there is Sufyan Mukim came right now at the moment, and then there is Mir Raja Junior, who has unbelievably amazing season this year. I think.
Okay, so there is some hope then, with respect to spin. But, I mean, it's no surprise who's to blame, but it doesn't feel nice to hear that again. Okay, so I think, we've taken a bit of time already. I think we should maybe take two more questions and then we can call it uh, a day. But yeah, I'm sorry to anyone whose question didn't get selected. We do our best. We really did. But okay, so one more question that I will take is is a list A tournament the most important development for women's cricketers? And you guys can weigh in on this, but my take on this is very simple. If it was up to me, we would have a very, very extensive domestic season because women's cricketers don't play that often anyway. And even if they are playing the national team, the under 19 team, the pool should be working on expanding. We should have an extensive red ball season and then we should have tiered white ball seasons. We will never, maybe never actually, in my lifetime at least, ever get red ball cricket at domestic level. Forget international level. But that makes it even more important that a list A tournament be happening every single year regularly, not just when there's a World Cup coming. Even with the national women's T20, we saw that bowling standards, as always, even with the flat pitches, were quite high. Even with the really, really uncooked players from Peshawar or Pindi or Multan, you saw that they were troubling some of our best batters. That should not be happening. And the reason why that happens is our batters just aren't used to batting that much. You know, We wonder why Sidra Amin is such a prestigious name is because she's actually performing at international level in ODIs, which is practically unheard of. Even our best Javeria, and Naida, Bisma, they all don't do that well all the time. And Muniba Ali, who's supposed to be one of our best batters ever, and I stand by that, is she had, I think, like a 13 average year in ODIs, and we played a decent amount of ODI cricket. The World Cup is coming. Muniba Ali should not be averaging that much. She's our, starting opener. And then when we needed a backup opener, we went to Shawal Zulfikar, who's 18 years old. I mean, that just says so much about the system and what we're producing. We're not producing batters, and you're not gonna. And I'll say this again and again: our list A tournament has to be for the batters. Our red ball domestic that will never happen has to be for the batters. Our bowlers are fine. They're doing good. We've got so many of them. We have more spinners than we know what to do with, to be honest. And even pacers. I mean, we've got Tasmia Rabab, we've got Hamna Bilal, and Wahida's doing amazing. So you've got so many different options in the bowling department. To then list A cricket and playing out 50 overs, not 40 overs, PCB, 50 overs becomes really important for the girls. And then giving them flat tracks so they can score 5 runs, and over 4 runs and over, I'll accept as well. The last list A tournament we saw, उसमें 40 overs थे, and fine, they were like, I think fog की वजह से उन्होंने कम किया था या कुछ ना कुछ था. मगर I mean, it's not that hard to schedule it. It takes 5-6 days की tournament आप करते हैं anyways. You can take that any week in the year. Just find a year with a part of the year that doesn't have fog or rain, and then just find some place that's not like a playground for spinners and no one else. So I mean, it's it's an indictment on the system, on the people that schedule it, and the players themselves. Jab a tournament ka run rate is 3 and over, and 70% of the wickets go to spin. It's just a shameful thing. So yes, a listed tournament is the most important thing, only because red ball tournament isn't possible in Pakistan. Otherwise, that would be the most important. Yeah. Sorry for that rant. But if you guys have anything to add, please go ahead.
I think you covered it all. Just yeah, in the absence of any red ball cricket, there has to be some form of some longer form cricket exposure for there to be improvement in any longer format. So you can't improve in any longer format by repeatedly just playing T20 tournaments.
Yeah, especially since when you've got like Fatma Sana, who is our most important player, if she's kind of struggling to bat and bowl 10 overs, that's concerning because she's probably one of our fittest players ever. Because she's also going to be batting at 5 or 6 now. So it's really just like they just don't have the experience. Plus, again, छोटे छोटे tournaments होते भी हैं वो 20 over के होते हैं, T10 के भी होते हैं. But those are tape ball. But still, the point is that 50 over cricket is being neglected in Pakistan women's cricket, and it doesn't make sense to me. क्योंकि आपने red ball देना तो नहीं है तो at least ये तो देते हैं. The World Cup next year is in India. We've been around for too long for us to be like, oh, maybe we'll get like one win. That's ridiculous. We have too much talent for us to just go into a World Cup, whether T20 or a 50 over, just hoping कि एक win मिल जाए. It's honestly should be embarrassing for the PCB and for anyone that schedules these domestic tournaments. But yeah, Adnan, do you have something to add, or should we move on to the last question?
No, man, you have elaborated so much that I don't need to. So basically, this type of things happen in Pakistan domestic cricket where players want to, where the committee wants to have a playing with grace ball in a time when you have to play your next series uh, in Australia. This time, this happened in
Mm.
Pakistan as well. So our domestic cricket had wanted to play with grace ball because just because he thinks that that's the better ball to play. So, but Misbah somehow managed to agree in that no, we are going to play with the Kukubra ball. So that similar thing happened with the women cricket. So there need to be both T20 and ODI tournaments. Listed tournaments should just not have the T20 tournament for those girls and want them to play the 50-over tournaments. You don't have the middle order batters as for now. You don't have backup openers. So you need some type of the longer format cricket to for those moments to flourish a bit more. They already had a wonderful year this year, last year, and they need more cricket to be a better team competing with England and Australia as well. They already beat South Africa, New Zealand, England, Australia, the next best teams. You have to get gave them more matches and more domestic cricket for that, and then you need more domestic cricket for that as well.
Yeah, I mean, next year, if Australia and England definitely making the semi-finals, right? And India, you can imagine home World Cup, they'll make it. The fourth team that'll be there, South Africa and New Zealand. We challenged both of those teams in both formats. And while it was our best T20 year, it was one of our worst, probably third worst or second worst ODI year. And the PCB just wants to gloss over that, and we should not let them gloss over that. And it's a failure of the domestic system. But yeah. Anyways, we'll do another episode of women's cricket where you can hear me rant about this in detail. But let's get one more question, which I think was really interesting. Okay, the question is, do you think an under 21 or under 23 league will be viable in the current setup? This is to prevent talent being lost.
I think basically the PJL, the Pakistan Junior League, that was supposed to happen initially. There was talk ke under 23 league hogi, but
Hmm.
that was changed eventually to be essentially an under 19 league. I think under 23 league का obviously वो फायदा होता है कि you have an emerging players rule in PSL. If you're continuing, first of all, there's I think there has been some resistance to that rule. There is a certain belief कि अगर आप उस rule को eliminate कर दें तो league बेहतर हो सकती है. Personally, I think from a fan's perspective, most fans like it because you get to see a couple of young players in each team every year. So I think it's probably here to stay. तो अगर वो रखना ही है तो फिर अगर कोई जूनियर लीग का प्रोस्पेक्ट है तो rather than it being an under 19 league, it's probably better that it's an under 23 league क्योंकि फिर आपके जो थोड़े फ्रिंज प्लेयर्स हैं जो शायद नेशनल T20 में इतने चांसेस उन्हें नहीं मिलते, स्पेशली इन द ओल्ड सिस्टम. अब इस सिस्टम में क्योंकि 18 टीम्स थी इस दफ़ा तो इतना मसला नहीं हुआ होगा इन दैट सेंस, बट स्टिल a league is still it gives you more exposure. PJL के साथ जैसे हुआ था where they had former players and stuff to motivate the players and all, so it's a different experience from a domestic tournament. So I think if there is any if there's any junior league that is planned or something that comes up, then an under 23 league would probably be the best way to utilize it, and especially avoid any funky ideas like a T10 league, please, because I don't think we need that. तो अगर कुछ extra करना है तो just go to something like an under 23 T20 league. That can potentially be beneficial, I feel.
So basically, that Azbullah bhai said कि पहले ही under 23 होनी थी, बाद में under 19 में convert कर देगी. और with under 19 you don't have that kind of power game, or just would say the type of T20 game you want from your youngsters to play, and you don't want your a T20 game where the average score is 130. So that's what's happening with the under 19 teams, and they are scoring at 130 and 140. So having a under 23 league is better than that, and with that, there are a lot of under 23 international players are playing. They come to the league and play with our youngsters, and that comes like a way of bettering our emerging PSL players more than doing it with these 16, 17 years old under 19s that are already playing a lot of cricket at under 19 level. So I don't think that was a viable option, and under 23 was a much better option than what we are going to do with the T10 and with the Nottinghamshire, whatever our PCB chairman wanted to do at that time. So there is a rule here now at the under 21 and under 22 players. There should be a one under 22 players in every team, and he should play every match in both in the list A and the Chasm Trophy. And I don't think there is a rule like that in President Trophy as well. But there is a rule in Chasm Trophy and Pakistan Cup that an under 22 player is compulsory to play in the playing 11, and there is a player is playing under 22 as well. but that's just a single player. Because an example of that is since this year's there is a match there where there are six or seven 34 to 38 years old playing at that moment in a Crescent Trophy match. And then you have another side, and that's the average age of that team was 22. So basically you have playing Tabish Khan and Fahad Iqbal and in that match. So basically Fahad Iqbal has won 32 first class matches and he's 39 now. What he's going to do at the moment, there are players in the Karachi Blue that are performing very well. There is a boy named Kashif Ali, and there is Hassan Mohsen who is keep on playing for Karachi Blue because Karachi White don't have a place. So basically, that's what's happening this year in domestic, and that's how Karachi just destroy their talents in that type of things.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like that's also a really kind of ridiculous extreme case, but I generally like the emerging rule. I like the idea of, spotlighting emerging players, and I feel like this is something that, leagues across should implement. That being said, when the PGL happened, I was very against it, before, during, after it. When I heard ki it was meant to be an under 23 league, it was supposed to be a little bit in relation with the PSL franchises. There were some mentors meant to be involved, and so on and so forth. I thought that idea was really cool. I thought that having some sort of relationship there. That being said, the PCB, as we've discussed in this episode, has so many struggles with scheduling and organization and just general administration. So maybe throwing another league into the mix, especially at this level, is not the best idea. But sometime in the future, 100%. As long as they're not like wasting the money elsewhere on like D10 or something. If there's money lying around, you got money to spend, go ahead and do it. Of course, I would say कि women's PSL पहले करते हैं, मगर apparently the PCB, as quoted by Cricinfo, isn't interested in that. So under 23 league, here we go. But yeah, I think this is a really interesting conversation, and I hope everyone enjoyed this. If you have any follow up questions, please leave them in the comments below, and I will nag Abdullah and Adnan to reply to you guys, as I see them. And yeah, watch out for Ask Me Anything episodes. If you have any specific topic that you think Grassroots Cricket should cover, please let us know again in the comments below, and we will try to put out a form out and cover that topic in an episode. Of course, try to stay specific to cricket, maybe Pakistan cricket. But yeah, thank you so much for for coming on board, you guys. It was really nice to have you. Thank you for watching.